Hello, welcome to another powerful conversation. My name is Sophie Jones. I'm a business and performance coach along with a breathwork facilitator, and I am so excited about who is coming on with us today. So Stacey Dietman and I have known each other kind of like, I would say 3 degrees separated. You know, we're both from Utah, and so Utah is a small place. Salt Lake City is a small place, but you kind of like always know people without knowing them. And I feel like that's been mine and Stacey's journey. And so I've watched her transform from hospitality to coming into real estate. I'm just always really admired, who she is, how she's reinvented herself, watching her become a mom, watching her, as a wife. And so I wanted to have her come on as one of these powerful conversations because I feel like she embodies what it means to be a powerhouse, not just in business, but also in real estate. And so Stacey, I see that you're here. It'll pop up a request on your screen to join the live. So you should see, if it hasn't already done that for you, you'll want to log back out and come back in, but it will tell you, there you go. She's coming on. We're just going to hang tight for 1 second. I can see the glare of that mirror. Hi. Oh my gosh. As true as a real estate agent could ever be in the car having this conversation. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm happy to be here too. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I was just giving a little intro of how we kind of know each other. But it's like we kind of always like knew of each other, but didn't know each other, I feel like, right? Like Utah is such like the smallest, biggest city, I feel like, in the United States. So everybody, anyways, we run in the same similar circles we're used to. And I have watched you from the porcupine to get into real estate, to become a mom and a wife, or wife and mom. And I've just admired, because I know, being in real estate, how hard it is to get that up and going. But I've admired you and your branding and how you show up for your clients and what you're doing in that space. And I was like, I'm going to talk with her more. So
I love it. And I've been stalking you too, girl. I'm loving all your content.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. I appreciate it. So Stacey, tell everyone, so what the basis of the conversation is going to be is kind of what the moves you made to really be in the successful place you are in real estate now. But give us a backstory of your career and why you decided to get into real estate. Because I feel like you were doing pretty well prior to, right? Like you were weren't you managing the porcupine, or like the general manager or something? Or no? Am I confused?
No, I worked there a long time in many different facets, almost 20 years. But the position that I left was the director of marketing.
Okay.
And I had gone back to school after years in sales and hospitality, and I wanted to get a degree in marketing, and that was like my end all. Like I was like, I want to work in marketing.
Yeah.
I love the creative aspect of that, and I really wanted to. I thought that was like my pyramid,
Right.
Like I was like so happy to achieve that goal, and what I found out was that I kind of maxed out really quickly as far as like salary goes, and I started asking myself like the 3, 5, and 10 year question, right? Like, where am I going to be in 3? Where am I going to be in 5? Where am I going to be in 10? And the answer is the exact same place. And that wasn't good enough for me.
Yeah.
I was having a hard time balancing being a brand new mom.
Yeah.
And being in a corporate world that was a little constraining as far as being a mom. Like, right, like my kid has a fever, but I'm out of sick days, so now I'm tapping into vacation days.
Yeah.
And like it's really hard for me, and not that that's bad. That works for some people for sure, but for me, I was like, it was really hard. And so I started looking at like side hustles.
Yeah.
It was like, what can I do to make an extra blank amount of money a month, right? And so I started looking at tons of stuff, and real estate just kind of kept coming up for me. And not as a side hustle, but it kept like crossing my path.
Yeah.
And I had a girlfriend who was like an ex-roommate, and she was really successful. And it kind of gave me the courage to be like, well, she can do it, I can do it. you know? And so I was like, I don't know what this even looks like for real, but I'm just going to go, right? And I had a meeting with a woman who's been, like, she's in her 60s and she's been in real estate, like, her whole life. And
Yeah.
she kind of took the fear out of it for me. She was like, look, just do it. Just you'll sell a house, and then you'll sell another one, and then you'll sell another one, and then you'll sell another one. And I was like, well, that doesn't make it sound so scary, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm like, what?
Oh, I can't hear you. 1 second. I can hear you now. You're good. You're good.
Sorry, I had a call coming in.
No worries.
So she kind of took the fear out of that for me, and I was like, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And so I got my license, and the company I was working for found out, and they gave me an ultimatum. And
you were like, see you later.
Yeah, well, at this point, I was like, I literally cannot go in reverse.
Yeah.
Like by nature, I cannot go in reverse, and I was like, I've put too much time and energy into this, and like, I can't not go through with this and like wonder if I ever could have made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was really scary. It was scary, you know, leaving like a solid salary and benefits and like the whole thing to just jump into the abyss, you know, and it was a lot of really deep trust work, you know, and like it was a huge conversation about what my value is and what I think I'm worth, and also just being able to trust myself. And you know, part of that was like looking back on other accomplishments that I had achieved in life and going like, look, you did this, you did this, you did this. Like, there's no reason why you couldn't do this also, right? And so, yeah, it was a very scary leap, but it was scarier than the landing. And then once I just trusted that it would work and like owned it, like it just started going. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the best decision I've ever made, for sure.
It makes so much sense too now that I'm like, her marketing's so good. And you're like, oh yeah, I have a degree in it. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I love what you said about, trust work, because I don't care how old you are or at any stage, and people that I work with, we just come up against ourselves always. It's like there is another level that you're just like, oh my, can I do this? And I think the older we get, we have more to lose. Like there's more writing.
Yeah.
You know, you're a mom, you're a wife, like we mortgage.
You have a mortgage.
Yeah.
You like people are depending on you. Like it's scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like, you know, from what you just shared, it was the best decision you could have made.
I honestly wish I would have done it 20 years ago, because it's like, for me, it's in like perfect alignment with everything that is for me. You know, like the sales and the marketing side is like my creative outlet. I get to like use that as my creative outlet, and then the sales side, which I don't really call it sales, but it's just like helping people, right? Like it's like I'm a problem solver, like I'm a cheerleader, like I'm like, let's make it happen. What's your life goal? Like, let's get it going. Like, do you want a dream house? Do you need to downsize? Do you need to liquidate a family asset? Like, what is it? Let's go, you know? And so it's, for me, it's just like helping people, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like too, you're so well connected. Like you just naturally have a community, and you always have, right? So when you raised your hand and were like, I can help you now, people already trusted you. Do you think that's true?
I do, because I've been kind of a mover and a shaker in that sense for a while now. But, you know, as in any profession, I think you have to earn trust, you know? And totally. I think that once people start seeing that you're dedicated, and it's not that you're educated and dedicated and working and you know, it's, for me, like real estate isn't like a job, it's a lifestyle, right?
100%.
Like it's like I'm doing it all the time. Like I don't ever, it's not turned off, you know, like you're connecting pieces, you're connecting dots, you're solving problems, you know what I mean? The business is everywhere. It's just, it's, for me, you have to like love that.
Yeah.
Or you don't, there's people in this game that really, you can tell it's just a job, and you can tell, you know? And like, for me, I just have a passion for helping, and and connecting and solving problems. And so for me, I like love that part.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I say like real estate chose me. Like I kind of fell into it, but it was
Yeah.
so perfect for my personality. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
like I can make endless amounts of money. And like I always had coaches, and
Yeah.
at that time, calling for sell by owners and expireds, because we weren't so heavy into, I mean, social media was there, but I mean, they weren't marketing like we have been like the last 3 to 5, I would really say,
Yeah.
since 2020. I mean, people have had presence, but not as great as I would say when we came through the pandemic. People had the opportunity to really learn some new skills. But like, I just loved being able to be in control of my destiny and like work on my skills
100%.
and like, pick up the phone and generate business and meet people and walk in their house and they're strangers. And then I leave and they've listed with me because they trust me and they trust my knowledge and they know I'm the best person. And and then you see them all the way through and they start referring you business. There's something that's wildly fulfilling about that experience. And it's also
100%.
super stressful. So like if you have multiple, if you're successful at it, you got a lot of business going at one time and you need to be able to manage and delegate. And so it just teaches you so many great like skills, I feel like, too.
Yeah. And I will say too that they're like coming from being in a marketing director position, marketing is either like people either believe in it or they don't. And working for people that don't believe in it and trying to prove your worth is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons also that I left that job. But because marketing is hard to quantify, right? Like you can put all this marketing out into the world, and then you can run these metrics, but it really is hard to quantify. But when you like, there's something so satisfying about like settling on a property and closing a deal, because you can say like, I really got that done, and that like is so rewarding. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
totally.
It's got, so there's both aspects there. It's like the reward of closing, and then there's also the creative. So for me, it just is like perfect
works.
harmony.
Totally. So I want to talk with you though, because I think, I know a lot of successful women that are in a lot of different industries, and they're moms. And, I used to be a stepmom, and we all have followed Sophie's journey the last few years, but we're going to talk about your journey. And
Okay.
when you aren't feeling like you've got it all together, because real estate, just like you said, it's going all the time. It's a 24-hour gig.
Yeah.
And you've got 2 cute kids and you've got a husband. I see you guys get outside. You like to do, but when you don't feel like you're managing it well, like who do you lean on? Do you, how do you get yourself back in that place of like, okay, Stacey, everything's okay. Tell us a little bit more what that looks like behind the scenes for you.
So, I kind of like on the daily, I think about like my 4 buckets. Like I like to make deposits in each bucket, right? Like I'm like, okay, I have a time of my day that I'm going to work on my business, and then I have a time of my day that I'm going to dedicate to my children, whether that's an activity or working on cleaning their rooms or just loving on them or whatever that may be. And then anything that I can deposit into the home and the personal category, like I need an hour to go to the gym to work on me, and I'm going to listen to a podcast because I like to educate as well. That's something that fills me up. So and then family time, right? So like I feel like I heard this really cool analogy once that balance is not attainable, right? That balance is more like a tightrope walk, right?
Yeah.
Like you're always just kind of like shifting a little bit, one to this side, one to that side. Like there's no, like perfect balance doesn't really exist, right? And so I just, sometimes when I feel like I'm not managing it perfectly, I just kind of go back to my buckets, right? Like let's put a little deposit here and a little deposit here and a little deposit here and a little deposit here to make sure that like I feel like I'm covering the things that are important to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also include my children in everything I do. Like I'm going door knocking today, and they're coming with me.
They're like, Mom. You're like, this is what we do. Yeah, family
they love it.
activity.
They love it. They
They
love it. And
do.
they're so proud of me when they see that I win awards and things like that. They're like, Mom's awesome. And I'm like, you helped me do that. Like, it's cute and it teaches them hard work and stuff. So I don't know. I
I
include them
love
in,
that.
in anything. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
absolutely love that they're coming along and learning so
Yeah.
much because kids, I think they just pick up on so much just from watching versus
Yeah.
telling all the time. Um, yeah, so I had another question and I was just listening to your kids door knocking with you and I got like completely, I could just see them like, because I could like see pictures of them. They're like, hi. As you're growing in real estate and as you're connecting the dots, and you said something about your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year goals, and I think real estate I would say is changing rapidly. Like, I don't think we've seen an industry that's on the precipice. I mean, we always hear that, like, I started back in '09, and I feel like real estate's like one of the only industries that are like, oh, could change at any second. We had like flat fee broke. There's just been a lot of innovation,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
with the new ruling and commissions and just as things are growing and going, where do you see yourself in real estate, let's say in 5 years, or what is your long play with real estate? Have you thought about that and how you want to continue to be innovative and stay, or maybe you are like, hey, I'm going to buy property, invest. I don't always see myself in sales. Tell me what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been in this real estate industry for 6 years, and it's changed dramatically since the time I've been in it. It's been like crazy all over the place. I I'm really leaning in towards the changes being a positive and showing more value to people that are actually really good in this industry. And so there's some crazy things happening with the NAR settlement, but my long-term goal would be to invest in property and buy and hold for my kids to have as a legacy and also as a retirement plan.
Yeah.
And
Do you ever see?
I honestly don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. I literally like working, so I
Yeah.
don't have like this, I need to be out of the game by this time.
Yeah, no.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like a nice escape, honestly, from motherhood. Like, I'm not a person that could be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I'm sure you're familiar with the DISC assessment, but I'm like a 99D, and so I'm like I have to be like, I'm
Driving,
very
doing, yeah.
action oriented, but it makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I like working. I've always liked working. It makes me have purpose. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel accomplished. So for me, I don't mind the long game, but it is scary just to know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, there's always a need, right? Like, there's always marriage, there's always divorce, there's always children being born, there's always people passing
Yeah.
away, there's always
Yeah.
a need for real estate. That the need is never going to go away. And so that's where I have trust in it, is that there's always a need, right? And there's always going to be a way to fulfill that need. And I have the education and the knowledge to do that. So I feel like, like the people that really are good at what they do are going to stand out in the long run.
So that's
And
what,
I think there's
yeah. I was just
out.
having a conversation with someone and I was like, I think this is the first time in history that people in real estate, that if you are not committed, if you are not innovative, if you are not showing from real estate, from marketing and social media to value you bring to clients, like, now is the time. But the people that are working on those skill sets, because the market will gravitate towards that. Like, they're going to want it.
Yeah.
And I think that we really will see a lot of part-timers or people, because you'll have to, I don't want to say prove your worth, but it's like people will want to work with the very best if they feel like there's more wiggle room to negotiate, let's say, commissions or anything like that, more than there ever has been. And I'm like, I just see that, for people that want to dominate in this industry, there's going to be a huge windfall for people that are committed.
Yeah.
And the people that are just kind of mediocre, it's like, there's just not going to be even any static going that way, right? Like, there's just not going to be, don't you think?
100%. Like, sometimes I've lost deals to people that are like, oh, well, I was going to use you because I think you're amazing, but then my cousin has their license and I feel like I should keep it in the family, and she does like one deal a year,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, how'd that go for you?
Yeah.
I think, and it's expensive to keep your license. There's a lot of fees involved, and So I think there's people that are just going to kind of fall out
Yeah.
naturally, and then hopefully the people that really work, on their skill set and their craft will be rewarded with better business, because it's no joke. It's
Yeah.
not easy, and I don't think that, like, putting this responsibility or job into the hands of the general public who don't know how to navigate a transaction is wise. Like, I would never represent myself if I wasn't a real estate agent, like navigating like mess remediation or a new roof or a plumbing line, or like there's just so many things that could go wrong, and there's so many lawsuits that could happen, even with contracts. And working agent to agent, there's a lot of liability.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, the news headlines are kind of like the working against this trade right now, which is unfortunate. But I think that's why it is our sole responsibility and job to educate people and consumers so that they know, like, what's really happening. And the news headlines just skim the surface, and they just have there's no bones to that.
Well, but I think you could spin it as a positive, right? Because if your industry is getting so much attention and then you are being loud on your social media, like, hey, this is what's really going on. Hey, let me educate you on this. And you just start taking up space because like nationwide, it's starting to bring attention. Then people are going to be like, oh, Stacey's our go-to person because she's taking up space. And that's what I mean by like people that get loud and take up space right now, because there's so much attention going to that industry. I think there's going to be a huge market share opportunity for people like that. And I love that. I see you do that often. I'm like, she's crushing it. So.
Yeah. And I don't, there's a different, everyone has a different approach, and I follow a lot of content creators that are very loud about it and very aggressive, and that's just not my style. But I do want to give information in my way, and and be happy to share that, because it's confusing. It's confusing on every level. There's so much noise in the media. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. I think you just have to trust your intuition and get very clear on what your goals are. And that's at the end of the day, would you go into a court of law without an attorney? That's just crazy.
Totally.
And it's kind of the equivalent.
Yeah, I agree. So is there anything else, any fun fact or anything else you want to share with people before I tell them how they can go find you, or anything or this is what I'd like to say, because I have real estate people that follow me, but I also have a lot of clients, past people from, that are building their careers or maybe have built a career. But if you could tell somebody that was starting out, that was scared, okay, because I have people that come to me, being in Houston, they're going to pivot out of oil and gas, or they're going to pivot out of one industry, and they've got a lot of responsibility and they're coming into something else. What would you tell somebody that's looking at those decisions? What advice would you give them?
So the biggest thing there's two things that really served me making a career pivot. One of them was to really dive deep to whatever source you connect with, whether that's God, whether that's universe, whatever that may be, and just trust that there's a plan for you, and that you will be supported. And the mind battle is half the game, right? I would say it's 90%. Sorry, not half, but 90% of it is mind. And just knowing that look, I deserve this, and it's going to happen, and I'll be supported, and is trusting, and wherever you find that relationship spiritually, I think is really important. And the other thing I would do is join a community.
Yeah.
My first year in business, I was asked to serve on the Women's Council of Realtors for the Salt Lake Board, and I was terrified because I was imposter syndrome. I've done 2 deals, and now you're asking me to serve on a board, because I have all this experience with event management.
Yeah.
And these women just believed in me, and they scooped me under their wing, and they said, no, you just have to be the event director. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, I just stand in front of this council and have an authority, when I felt like I didn't have authority, right? Because I felt oh my gosh, I'm too new to do this, right? And I just freaking did it, and it was the best thing I ever did, because I immediately jumped into a community that supported me professionally and believed in me and carried me when I was feeling down. And then like also it really just opened up my network, which was
huge.
100% amazing.
Yeah.
Because like, look, I wanted to know real estate agents outside my brokerage. I didn't know any home inspectors. I didn't know any appraisers. I didn't know stagers, anything. Like my book of referrals is massive. And it happened in, I served there for 3 years and I got so much value out of it. It also gave me a lot of integrity with my clients.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, she's in a power position and they all of a sudden had trust in me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it definitely brought business along as well. And I still, I served that board for 3 years in a board position, but now I'm still a community member of that and I support everything they do. And I bring women in all the time. It's also for men too, but like it's a women-oriented group. But like I bring women in, new agents all the time, and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. I just needed something. It's like a go-to place of community and support and growing your business and being a boss, like all the things. And so whatever industry anyone's looking to jump into, I would look for some sort of support group or a mentor group. And it can be inside your industry or outside too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's tons of networking groups, there's tons of mentor groups, but I think it's really good to have those when you have questions.
Life-changing. And the more that you get in those rooms, the more that you like, you're frozen. We have bad weather here. Let's see if she comes back. Stacey, are you coming back? Okay, I'm going to talk while we see if she pops back in. But I was just going to say, the more that she lost. She probably had something come in. The more that you are in certain rooms and with certain people, the more that you elevate because you're around other people that are elevating. So I absolutely loved that. I'm going to see, she might come back on, but I will tag Stacey in this live. If you are in the Salt Lake, Utah, if you're in Salt Lake City, Salt Lake County, the surrounding areas, Heber County, any of those areas, Stacey covers all of it. As you can tell, she's a total expert at what she does. She is incredible. And so if you know anyone that's looking to buy, sell, lease, or invest, give her a call. And also, I am doing the 1% masterclass a week from today, where I teach you how to get out of your own way, set massive goals, achieve incredible success in business, while also healing anything that has kept you stuck or held back in business and or life. Well, this might be Stacey. She might be coming back on. So let's see if it's her. And if not, we'll close it out. There she is. Hi, babe. Okay, you're back.
Oh my gosh.
You're
I'm
okay.
Sorry. My phone
Okay.
had a meltdown.
That's okay. All right, Stacey, just tell everybody where they can find you if they're looking to buy, sell, lease, invest. I said a little bit about that, but just tell people everything and anything that we need to know when it comes to real estate in Utah.
So I obviously I'm on Instagram at Stacey Dittman Realtor, and then I also have another account called Selling Utah Cabins. I do also specialize in mountain and recreational property. And then my website is just staceydittman.com, and I can add it in the comments if that would be helpful.
Yeah. So I'll just tag all of that when we post this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm going to tag it, and then I'll make you a collaborator, and we'll have all of that there. I just appreciate it. Thank you so much. I feel like we've become closer just even through this conversation, and I appreciate your time and I admire what you're doing.
Thank you. Back at you, babe. You're amazing.
Okay. Talk soon.
Okay. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.